You are recording.
Awesome, thank you. How many people have ever heard of me? Or Joshua? Oh, well, more than I thought. Well, I'm going to tell you my story anyway, because it's fun to tell. So what we're going to talk about today really is Joshua's cheat codes to life. This is the basis of what Joshua is teaching. It's an article that was written, and it came out from a question from Steve that he asked, and I'll tell you how it all started. Volume okay? Okay. Okay, sorry. I apologize. Speaker is here?
Because you've got this thing in your ear, one of the two.
Okay, speaker, it's reverb. How about that? Better? All right. I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa in 1963 to two people who didn't like Johannesburg, South Africa. So they decided to move. Now, it's really important, one of the things that Joshua teaches you is that you choose who your parents are and you choose the date and time of your birth. So if you want to track back where your intentions were when you were born, look at the conditions of your birth and who they were, because that will tell you something. But anyway, when I was 2 years old, me, my parents, and my 6-week-old brother moved from Johannesburg to Vancouver. Now, there's no planes for them back then, so we took a boat to England, a boat to Eastern Canada, and then a train to Vancouver, which seems crazy at the time, doesn't it? How they were like in their 20s. So we lived in Canada for 4 years until we became American citizens, which was their goal. We moved to San Diego. We lived there for 4 years. It was fun. It was great. We enjoyed it. And then my mom wanted to go back to South Africa. So now we go back to South Africa, same way. Train, boat, back to Johannesburg. We lived there for a year, and they said, this sucks. We want to go back to America. Back to America, boat. Stopped in Fort Lauderdale. That was nice for a while, but then not Fort Lauderdale, Michigan. We're going to go to Michigan. So we live in Michigan. It's too cold, so now back to San Diego. And then when we got back to San Diego that week, they said, screw it, it's not where we're living, it's each other we don't like. So my mom left, which was great. Normally people like to stay with their mom, but in this case, my mom was really controlling, and there wasn't a lot of freedom. And so when I was 13, she moved to New York City, and we stayed with my dad in San Diego, and my whole world opened up. Pure freedom from then on, because my dad was now interested in women and not so much us, so we could do whatever we wanted to do. And it worked out good. It was a good relationship there. So when I was finished 8th grade, we now moved to Boca Raton, Florida, and lucky enough, we were able to stay there for high school and college. Went to college for some reason. I don't know why. I thought I'd figure out what I wanted to do in college, but that's not true. At the end of it, I had to think, what did I want to do? And what I wanted to do was be rich. So my whole goal in life was to be rich. And this being rich idea set me on this course of motivation seminars and Think and Grow Rich and Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, stuff like that. So that's how I all started on this path to end up somewhere else. So I figured to get rich in Florida, you go into real estate. So I went and got my real estate license, and while I was there, I met an appraiser, and she said appraising was good, and I figured, well, if I'm going to invest in real estate, I might as well become an appraiser and learn how to value it. So I became an appraiser, did that for a year. I really liked it, and bought my first house and fixed it up and sold it, and it was a great experience. I loved doing it, and I thought, this is what I want to do. So did I do that? No. What I did was, the guy that sold me the house said, you should sell real estate. So I went and sold real estate. Then I started a big company and had lots of agents and 3 offices. And did I make any money? No. And hassle and lawsuits and people complaining. And so I sold the company and was basically back to zero. So I bounced around a little bit and thought, well, I liked appraising, so let's do that again. And I became an appraiser, built a huge company, got married to Lily, which I'll show you Lily in a second, and then opened a mortgage company, a title company, bought and sold houses, and in 2006, I was rich. 2007, I was no longer rich. So we lost everything. Yeah. And so we lost everything. We moved to we had to get out of our house because of going into foreclosure. So we moved to this house that our friends had, and we bought it from them. They did the financing for us. It was owner financing. We fixed it up, and this house was about 30 minutes north of where we were, in a really secluded spot on a river at the tip of a wildlife sanctuary, huge park in Hobe Sound, Florida. Go to the next slide and you can see the house, or you can see the view. So this is where we lived. That was our view. You could only see that. You couldn't see any other houses. That was a osprey that lived outside our house, and we saw animals, and we were by ourselves, and our friends never visited because we were half an hour away. It was crazy for them to come up there. And we were pretty much by ourselves trying to figure out what we're going to do. So what happened was that our good friend, who we actually live closer to now, it's still a long way away, but she drove down from Stewart, and she brought the CD, and she said, you have to listen to this. It's going to change all our lives. And it was The Secret. And we're going, okay, we need our lives to change, so we're going to listen to this. We didn't have a CD player in our house, so we got in our car, and Lily and I just drove and drove and drove, and we listened to this thing 10 times, so you know how long that is to drive. Day by day. Do you remember that? That's what we say to each other all the time now. So we didn't really figure out what The Secret was. I guess what The Secret was, that we thought it was, is that you create your own reality. And looking back, maybe I'm saying that, but I think that's what we thought. But we were dying for more information, and we went through our own library, and Lily picked out Ask and It Is Given by Abraham-Hicks. So we had this the whole time, and we'd listened to it before, but it had never clicked. Isn't that interesting? So we go in the car again with the CD and listen to it 10 more times, and we're like, this stuff is good. This is going to change our lives. So we go online and we book our first Abraham-Hicks seminar in Asheville, which is the big one. It's 2 days, full days each day. It's in the Biltmore. It's unbelievably great there. And while I'm there, in a break, I get a phone call. And it's from one of the agents that used to work for me. And she says, I've got this contract, this house. I want to put it in your name. Just write the contract in your name, and we're going to sell the contract. Stuff we used to do all the time. And we'll each make the money. So I said, go ahead. That's a great idea. So we come back home, and she says, the guy didn't want to buy the contract. Do you want to buy this house? And I said, sure. I'm not really doing anything else. I'll have a friend who goes in with me, and we fix up this house, and it is fantastic. The whole thing worked out great. Really felt this, man, I finally found what I wanted to do. So we kept doing that, and it worked out really good. And there was a lot of benefits of doing that, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So I found my passion. So I was led from The Secret, well, probably even before that, from all those other things, to this disaster, to losing everything, to not being focused on money so much, but now, trying to get back to where we sort of were, to The Secret, to Abraham-Hicks. So my vibration had raised enough so that when we listened to Ask and It's Given, we could understand it, where before it was nice, but we didn't get it. And then to the seminar, and then to finding my passion, which was real estate. Now, during this time, we fixed up, sell this house, and we moved to Palm Beach. If you live in Florida, like your goal is to live in Palm Beach for a year, just because it's so cool. And so we found this little house that we could rent for unbelievably cheap, but right in the middle of town, and it was totally perfect. It was real small, but it was a great house. So we move into this house, and we're walking our dog in the summer. And if you know Palm Beach, it's completely empty in the summer because it's 900 degrees there. And if you can live elsewhere, you do. And we're walking down a deserted street, and there hadn't been a car up and down in some random street they're walking on. And this white BMW pulls up next to us, stops basically in the middle of the street. Out comes this woman and screams at Lily. And it's like her friend from 20 years ago that I had never met, Trisha. So they get to talking. And Lily says, what are you doing? And Trisha says, I'm redesigning furniture. Here's some pictures of what I'm doing. I'm taking old chairs, I'm painting it, I'm doing new fabrics, and I'm selling it online. And it's going great. And Lily's like, yeah, I want to do that too. So let's start a business. So they start a business. The next week, we find a spot, lease it. They find furniture, they find upholsterers, they find painters, and they've got this business going. It's called the Painted Ox, if you ever want to look it up. It's a big deal now. but they didn't know anything, and they just started. And Lily goes, this is my passion. So I have my passion, she has her passion, and we've gotten to this level where, well, that's what we're focused on. It's just bliss. You know, you're just doing what you want to do, and everything seems to be working out great. Living in Palm Beach, we've seemed to have come somewhat back from what we had before. So now I have this strange burning desire or feeling that I have to meditate. And I never thought I would ever meditate in my whole life, but something's calling me to meditate. And I always thought meditation was a strange thing that hippies did, and I would never do that. But then I heard Jerry Seinfeld was on, was it Jimmy Fallon? Yeah, it might have been something like that. I thought it was, Jimmy Fallon. And at the end of it, he's like, what are you going to do? And I'm going to go and do TM. And so I thought, well, that's pretty interesting that he's doing it. And then I heard another friend of mine said, I'm meditating now. And it was bizarre. And then I heard someone else meditate. And I go, well, we got to do this. So we got the Abraham-Hicks meditation CD. And Lily and I sat down and we meditated. And we could do maybe 10 seconds before it was like, this is crazy. We can't even, minds are just going crazy. But eventually, after a while, we got good at it. And we could do the whole 15 minutes, and then sometimes we did a little bit more. So we're doing this for about 3 months, and then something really strange happens. So it's going to sound weird, but what happens is I'm meditating, and all of a sudden I feel this, like right here in my head. Like it's a palm, fingers touching inside my skull. And it starts really slowly, and it stays here and it moves around, and I just felt that there was a presence inside my body with me. And it wasn't uncomfortable or unpleasant or strange, it was strange obviously, but it wasn't scary. So when I stop meditating, it goes away. When I start the next day, it comes. Next day it comes, it's always coming, right? And I'm like thinking, what is this? Is this normal? Do other people have it? It's not happening to Lily. It doesn't happen to other people I know. And so I think, okay, if this is a presence, I'm going to ask it questions. So I start asking questions, and the answers come back like this. Now, it doesn't sound any different than me because it's my same thoughts, so your thoughts sound like what your thoughts are. It's not like it's going to be a deep, booming voice. This is hi, yeah, this is the answer. It's just a normal voice, right? But the answers are so brilliant, it can't be me. It's got to be somebody else. So I go with it, and I think, okay, after a while, what is your name? And it was super clear, super fast. We are Joshua. So this is how Joshua starts. I don't tell anyone about this because obviously, I wouldn't. If you guys weren't in this group, I wouldn't tell you either. I'm not going to tell any of them. Okay? So you guys can get it, but this is as far as it goes. Don't tell anyone else. All right. But anyway, you can't. I don't believe it then. So I don't. If you guys don't believe it, I don't blame you because it's a weird thing. But anyway, the conversation that's going on is just really quick and really, and it's not, when I'm meditating, it still happens. So I can ask, what's that person's name? That's Bob. Or it just says Bob. That's Bob. It doesn't say that's Bob, it just says Bob. Where's the remote control? Behind you. Oh, okay. So it's stuff like that. What's the lottery number? We don't know. No, they don't say that. They actually say the lottery number is 8, 7, 14, 96. There is no 96. It only goes to 54. Well, that's what we're going to tell you, so did that one time. Anyway, so it doesn't work that way, but one day, about 3 months in, this was October, I think, or middle of October or middle of November 2013, right at the end of meditation, Joshua says, write. So I get up, go to the computer, and just start typing with 3 fingers. That's all I can do. And I can't look at the screen. I got to look at the keyboard. I'm typing, pecking stuff out as fast as I can. It's going so fast, it's unbelievable. And in half an hour, I've got 2.5 pages of typewritten stuff, printed out, show it to Lily, and she's like, what's this? What'd you write? I go, this isn't me. This is something else. And she's like, yeah, it was really, probably can't be you. Not in half an hour anyway. We have our friends who gave us the secret are coming over for dinner. We have a nice dinner. I tell them this story, give them the paper, and they're like, this is unbelievable. So what was written in that first day is the first 2.5 pages of this book. It kept going every day for 8 weeks, 2.5 pages or 3 pages every day. One day would lead off where another day ended. It was like I was, someone was had the book there and just typing it in. You can't tell when something started. There was no plan for it. There's even the titles of everything came out. The only things that are different are there was a lot of spelling errors because I'm going like crazy, but otherwise it's exactly the same. That took exactly 8 weeks. It's 122,000 words, which is like twice the size of an average book. So it's a pretty big book. And during that time, we shared it with some of our friends, and people know each other who are like into this stuff, and they're sharing it. So we have this group of about 30 or 40 people who are getting the daily printouts, emails and stuff. And then people start asking questions to Joshua. So I do the same thing. I just sit in my office, close the door, and just read the question and type, and whatever comes out, comes out. And people are getting, this is pretty interesting stuff. So this took 8 weeks. That last day happened to be the day after Abraham was in town in Boca Raton, which I didn't do any writing then, but the next day the whole book ended. So everyone's bummed that's the end of the book, but the next day I get up and start typing again, and the next book comes out. Same thing, 8 weeks, 3 to 4 pages a day, everyone's following along, getting questions and all that along the time too. And now, all of a sudden, I've got this thing. I didn't ask for this thing. This thing just happened. I make a website and post the questions and answers. And now I think, well, this can't just be happening to me. Are other people experiencing what I'm experiencing? So I go on YouTube, and I find a bunch of other channels, and most of them on YouTube are like Esther, and they can speak it. And find a guy named Story Waters, and he was in LA, so it was like about 2 years ago. We came out here, just had this thing. I had to come and see him. So came out here and got in a hot seat and said, why did this happen to me? And he said, well, you're worthy of this, and you're a normal guy, and people will relate to you because you're a normal person, unlike me, who's, sort of out there. And if you've seen other channelers, they all sort of have their thing. My thing is I'm a normal guy. And I met Steve there. Well, we were there too. And Steve got in touch and asked Joshua a whole bunch of questions. And then Joshua said to get Steve involved in this one-on-one program. And what we want Steve to do is commit to doing it for 6 months. He has to ask 3 to 4 questions a week. He can't make any major life changes during that time. And what was the other thing? There were 4 things you had to do. You had to meditate every day. Okay. So Steve agrees to this. He asks a whole bunch of questions. And one of the questions is, I'm a techie kind of guy. I like video games. And in video games, you can go online and get cheat codes. So it makes the game easier. Tell us what the cheat codes are to life. And in 15 minutes, the cheat codes came out. So this became an article, and it's the most popular article. It's probably in that magazine there, and people have read it. And so we're going to talk about the cheat codes. It's really the foundation of Joshua. It's the basic generalization. You've probably heard of a lot of it before, but I'm going to go and talk about the specifics of each cheat code and how they apply, and from there we'll get some more Joshua teachings in there. Let's go to the first screen, though. I want to share something. This is the book. Go to the next screen. Okay. Pam, could you hold that for a second? Thanks. All right. This is the first paragraph of the book. This is the first words that were ever written. This is the cornerstone of Joshua's teachings. And the book is called A Perception of Reality, which I never really understood what that meant. But what it means is that how you perceive your reality is how it is. Right? That's it. There's nothing more to it. It's all perspective. The first sentence is everything is right. That's hard to believe, so we'll keep reading. There is no wrong anywhere in the universe. So the universe is set up where everything is right. There's no wrong anywhere in the universe. Anything you perceive as wrong is done so from a limited perspective. From the higher perspective, whether that's non-physical, where Joshua can see, or whoever non-physical can see, or even from the perspective of history, everything is always right. If you think about, Pearl Harbor. At the time, Pearl Harbor seemed wrong. But if it wasn't for Pearl Harbor, America wouldn't get in the war. It would be a different world. So it's always right. So this is the basis, the foundation, the cornerstone of Joshua's teaching, and this is the perception that Joshua wants you to start thinking about now. So when something seems to go wrong, you say, that's just my limited perspective based on this fear that I have, and somehow it's right. I can't see how it's right. Let's go to the next slide, please, Steve. Cheat codes for life. Go with the first one. Okay, I have the cheat codes here. I haven't memorized them, so I'm going to read them. And you don't have to write anything down or even read along, because you can go to the teachingsofjoshua.com and they're there. But I'm going to read them, and then I'm going to talk about each one as I can. Number one, you are a worthy being, as worthy as any who have ever lived. Therefore, you are worthy enough to receive all that you want. It is your divine right to do, be, and have anything you desire. Okay. You are worthy, and your worthiness allows you to have everything you want. And we're going to tell you how you're worthy in the next slide. Cheat code number 2. You are unique to all the world, to all of history, and to all of future. No one else, or no one who has ever lived or will ever live, is anything like you. You are truly unique, and this fact is evidence of your complete worthiness. Your perspective on the world, on your life, has never been lived before. You are adding to the expansion of the universe. And without your unique and valuable perspective, it would be less. And every point of perception is adding equally to the expansion of the universe. Therefore, you are as worthy as anyone else, because your perspective is just as valid as anyone else's. Okay? No one else has ever lived it, so no one can say that one is better than the other one. Number 3. You create your own reality. Your life is your creation, and you are fully responsible for how your life unfolds. It is in your control. You are not a victim to fate. You are the captain of your life. Now, we've heard this before, right? But this goes to show you that there's 2 ways to think of life. It's either everything's random, you get lucky, you're fortunate, and there's coincidences, and you have no control. Or you have total control. Now, having total control is sort of scary, because you're saying that I created this life or parts of this life that I don't like. And I wouldn't do that, and it's not fair, and someone else did it, it wasn't me. So if you believe that you are the creator, then you have to believe that you created the good and the bad. Number 4, you have been given free will. You can think any thought you like. However, those thoughts create your reality. You can choose to look at the negative side of things and bring more of that into your experience, or you can choose to look at the positive aspects of anything and bring more of that into your experience. Okay. So this is really the creation process. It's how you decide to view something is how it actually is. If you think it's bad, it's actually bad. If you think it's not that bad, it's not that bad. If you think it's good, it's good. Next slide. And the reason is because the universe is neutral. You determine what is positive or negative. The universe is neutral. You bring judgment to something, and how you see it determines whether it is positive or negative. I don't have a reading problem. I just can't read. I just can't see it. So, it sounds weird. Yeah. Okay, so everything's neutral. You may look at something and say that's great, and someone else with a different perspective says that's horrible. Trump is a good example of that. But it's neutral, and how you see it is really what happens. Now, here's an issue. If you desire something, you have to get into vibrational vicinity of that desire. If you were vibrationally in that vicinity, it would be in your life now. If it's not in your life now, it's because you're not a vibrational match to it. To become a vibrational match to it, you have to change. You don't have to change yourself because the universe is going to change you. And what they're going to do is the universe is going to change your beliefs. And the universe will put you into situations called manifestation events. A manifestation event occurs anytime you feel either positive or negative emotion. If you feel negative emotion, you are resisting what is happening and you are perceiving it in a way that is not helping you to change your beliefs. Okay? You are holding yourself apart from what you want because you're saying that that thing that's happening to me is wrong. I'll give you an example. When I was in college, I was full-time college, waiter at night. In the daytime, I had a business with my partner, Bruce. We collected information on office buildings and sold that information to leasing agents. My job was to drive around to the buildings and take the names of the companies in the building and then talk to the people and try and figure out how many people were in each office, and I hated it completely. But I made enough money that I could buy this great new Z28 Camaro, which I loved, but was totally expensive. And I'm in college, right? What am I doing with this car? So I'm feeling guilty about having this car. I hate this job, but I can't quit it because it's my own business, and my partner Bruce is relying on me. So I'm stuck. And I get into a car accident. Actually, I'm stopped, and the car hits me and totals the car, and I'm not too hurt. In fact, I get hit on the side and wake up in the passenger seat with the door touching my shoulder, and the paramedic said, had you been wearing your seatbelt, you'd be dead. And the only thing that happened was I had a little fracture in my clavicle, so I was back. But I couldn't, my car was totaled, and I was laid up, and I got out of my car, and I got out of my job, so it worked out good. Yeah. But you could view that as a positive statement or a negative statement, and at the time I thought it was horrible, and looking back, it was a great thing. Okay. Next one. How are we doing on time? It feels like 15 minutes. We have an hour and a half.
Been almost a half hour.
Okay. Because we'll have time for questions and stuff. And if anyone has a question on anything, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay. What's the next one? Okay. You create through your thoughts, words, and actions. Choose them wisely. This is something that's hard for everyone. Okay, first of all, no one chooses their thoughts. Very few people choose their words. And a lot of us choose actions, but sometimes we choose actions that aren't so good. So choose them wisely. Thoughts you continue to think are called beliefs. You have many beneficial beliefs, and these beliefs help you what? Create the life you desire. Thank you very much. You have some limiting beliefs, and these beliefs hold you apart from what you want. Since you can choose your thoughts, you can choose your beliefs. Now, do we analyze your beliefs? We don't. If you get yourself into a manifestation event, which occurs every single day of your life, anytime you feel negative, it's an indication that you have a limiting belief. Now, you can say, I like that belief that's holding me apart from what I want, and continue to believe it. Or you can say that this belief is limiting. I feel negative emotion. There has to be some limiting belief in here that's keeping me apart from what I want. So what you do is you analyze it, and you say, what is that fear? What am I afraid of here that's keeping this limiting belief alive? And if you can find that fear, you can prove to yourself it's false. For instance, a lady wrote, and she said, I really want to be an interior designer, but I have no formal training, and you can't be an interior designer without formal training. And Joshua's response was, that's the limiting belief, and all you have to do is find examples of interior designers who had no formal training. So, we have some fans here. So, if you can find some examples, like Lily, my wife, who has no formal training, and I go with her to do interior design works, and I just pretend I'm an interior designer, and I tell people where to put the furniture. And she is not only super successful, but she's very famous now too. Janine's been in the store. So anyway, you find that example, and that will diminish the intensity of that belief. And once you diminish the intensity, you can't erase it, but you can make it smaller. Once you do that, you have a new vibrational pattern, and that vibration changes your world. The minute you do it, your world starts to change. You may not notice it instantly. It's a subtle thing, but it'll change. Am I right? Okay. Okay, next one. Okay. The basis of life is well-being. Everything you want is coming to you as long as you allow it. So, you're either in a state of allowing or you're in a state of resistance. How do you know? If you're in a state of allowing, you are perceiving that things are happening as they should happen, things are going your way, and if it seems like a setback, you're not overly concerned, you realize it's all part of the plan. If you're in a state of resistance, you think that this is wrong, this is bad, this shouldn't be happening to me, this isn't the way I want it to be, I don't like it, I'm going to fight against it, I'm not going to go with the flow. I'm going to stay how I am. And what I'm going to do, instead of going with the flow, I'm going to change everyone else around me. So I'm going to say, you are not being nice to me, you change to be nice to me, and then I'll be happy. But that isn't how it works. Okay, this is a long one. There's no little light here. Sorry. Okay. You came forth into physical reality with a set of intentions. Most of those intentions were general in nature, such as the desire to feel joy, love, freedom, happiness, fun, abundance, and to expand through contrast. One or more intentions were more specific. These contain the essence of what you are here to explore in this lifetime. These are your interests and passions in life. Follow your interests to discover your passions, and you will live a life of bliss. So a big thing in Joshua is that you came here to explore certain things. You don't have to know what they are. What you have to do is be open to whatever you're interested in without letting people tell you that your interests are wrong. You can be interested in whatever you want, and you had an idea of certain things you wanted to explore. Like I wanted to explore playing poker. And so I play poker and enjoy it immensely, but I kept myself apart from that for 50 years. Right? 50 years, yeah. So I started, well, maybe 45 years. Because people would say, you can't play poker all that as much as you do. And I say, I get to play poker as much as I want. Also, Lily, her whole life was, I want to design, and people tell her, you have to do something else, you're not a designer, you didn't go to school, you can't do that. What you can do is be in the restaurant industry because you started restaurants and you should be doing that. You should not be designing. You can't just go from one job to another, right? But she was buying HGTV magazine and watching HGTV and knowing who all the designers were and redecorating the house and moving furniture every day in our own house constantly. So it's sort of obvious what she likes to do. She came here to make the world beautiful, and not doing that, is friction. It makes you do it. So you should be able to do whatever you want. Now, I was trying to get rich, but in that kernel of trying to get rich was what I wanted to do, which is fix houses, which I love doing. I want to make the world beautiful too. But people were saying, well, you should have a big business and plenty of employees and all that stuff and make money that way. And that wasn't the way to do it. Okay. Fear is what holds you apart from all that you want. Realize that much of what you fear is irrational and learn to analyze your fears. Do not simply accept that there is something to be fearful of. We come here with a survival instinct. We have fear so that we we don't pet lions or jump off cliffs. However, that's a rational fear. If you're going to die from this activity, from this action you take, that's a rational fear. Steve took me in his car, which is a Lotus Elise, on these windy roads here in California, up a mountain with cliffs on the side at stupid speeds, and that was rational fear. So it's okay when I screamed. But, yeah, that's all good. That's all part of the experience, right? To not do that would be not having the full experience. Now, to not ask someone on a date, to not ask for a job, to not ask for a raise, to not ask for what you want. That's irrational fear, because you cannot die from these things. Not right away, anyway. So learn the difference between rational fear, irrational fear. Irrational, like speaking in public, like what I'm doing right now, which is, it's irrational to be afraid of this. I guess it would be rational to be afraid of it talking to them. But for me, talking to you guys here, I'm not afraid, because it's not going to kill me. Okay. Next one. You have a guidance system. This is number 10, so we've got 6 more. You have a guidance system. Oh, wrong one. Okay. It's on the back. Very good. You have a guidance system that alerts you to those occasions when you're moving towards what you want or away from what you want. When you encounter positive emotion, you are heading in the right direction. When you feel any negative emotion, you are uncovering fear and the limiting belief behind it. Stop and analyze what you are afraid of and realize it is irrational and has no effect on your life. Dismiss the irrational fear and move on. Okay? So if you come along and you analyze your beliefs, find this irrational fear, and all irrational fear is false. Okay? There is no valid irrational fear, because you can't die. If you are doing something and you feel the fear, you're supposed to be doing it, and you can be okay moving through it. And I think if you move through this fear, you'll find that you'll be exhilarated. The conquering of fear, the emotion of that is exhilaration. Number 11, you have an inner self. This is what Esther thinks is the secret behind the secret, is the inner self. You have an inner self who can see your life from the higher perspective. Learn to communicate with your inner self and see things from that higher, broader, wiser perspective. All right. You choose the perspective from what you look at. If you can look at it from the higher perspective of your inner self by communicating to your inner self and saying, "Dear inner self, this looks bad. What's going on here?" And when you can see it from a higher perspective and feel relief, the feeling of relief is that indication from your inner self that you found a perspective that aligns with what you want, right? So you're going along, you get stuck in traffic, there's a slow car in front of you, and you're like, this is not that big of a deal. He'll move out of the way. And you feel relief from that, thinking to yourself, you've just done all you had to do about releasing that limiting belief in that fear. It gets easy after a while. It takes, a little time and practice, but it gets easier. You have an inner world and an outer world. The outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. The outer world is what you experience with your physical senses. The inner world is what you experience through your thoughts, beliefs, imagination. Create from the inside out. Okay, now did anyone know that? That was sort of a new thing for me. That this is just a reflection of what I'm feeling on the inside. This is working out, and this is good for me and all of us. We're all here on a cruise ship in California where everyone else is probably going to work tomorrow. So this is fun. We've created this experience for ourselves. Somehow we've managed to get a vibration going where we can do this, and what better thing is that? So anyway, this is a reflection of our inner world. Congratulations, you've done a good job on that part. Here it is again. Everything is right. There's no wrong anywhere in the universe. If you look at something and judge it as wrong, you are simply attached to your limited perspective. See it from the higher perspective and you will feel better. Which leads into a real important one here, which is, this is a feeling reality. Physical reality is a feeling reality. The only thing that really matters is how you feel. If you think about it, nothing else matters. If you feel good, what else matters, right? You are meant to feel good, so start demanding and expecting to feel good. If you feel bad, turn the other cheek, pivot to a new thought, and do whatever it takes to feel better. Move towards feeling good. So, if this is a feeling reality, and the only thing that matters is how you feel, if you feel good, then you're doing everything right. If you feel bad, you need to think about that you cannot accept feeling bad anymore. Analyze why you're feeling bad, and don't stay feeling bad. I think when I was, in business and before all this stuff, I was constantly battling to feel better by trying to change the conditions. And if I felt angry, I thought, well, that's a perfectly acceptable response to this action, to this condition. But it's not. Any negative feeling, you should be able to resolve that. You should be able to go through life where actually all you're doing is feeling good. And everything you're doing is towards feeling good. And it's, to me now, unacceptable to feel bad. And when I do feel bad, I really notice it. And Steve's there with me. And when we feel anger, we feel, okay, it doesn't last very long, but how could we let ourselves slip? And so you got to give yourself a little leeway for that too, which we do. The final one, and the most important one, and the one we all know is, this is an attractive universe. Nothing can be pushed away. Everything is attracted. Everything comes to you by the focus of your attention. If you focus on what is wanted, it will come. If you focus on what is not wanted, it too will come. If you appreciate the abundance in your life, you will experience more abundance in your reality. If you focus on the lack of abundance, you will attract more lack. These are the cheat codes. There's 15 of them. It sums up the very most general, most broad, less specific aspect of Joshua's teachings. Joshua goes into great detail on, how to approach these things. So this really, though, is there's 4 books now. We'll go on to the next page. There's 4 books now. This is Steve's books. So Steve did 100 questions and answers with Joshua. And so we made it into a book. It's such a compelling read because he asks a question, Joshua answers it, and then he asks a follow-up question, and Joshua answers that, and then a follow-up question. And you can't stop reading it because one question goes into the other one. And so people have read it. It's not out yet. It'll be out maybe next month.
Steve channeling that, or are you channeling the answer?
So Steve emails me a question, and then I type it out, whatever comes, and it goes back to him, and we kept them all and turned in this book. But you can see Steve's process from the very beginning to the very end. We'll talk about this more. We're going to do another session. We have a radio show now, and it's called the Teachings of Joshua Roundtable with me and Michael, who's not here, and Janine and Steve. And so what we'll do is, whenever this last one is, the 3 of us will get up, and so Steve at that time can tell you what happened in that one-on-one program. But it was how he would say it was life-altering, right? Okay.
Do you think this is coming down more and more frequently with Course in Miracles, Esther and Hicks, and then yourself, and so many others?
Yeah.
It's the universe is more receptive. The world, I should say, is more receptive.
The one thing that I learned from Esther is that anyone can do this.
Yes.
Right? So I didn't believe that I could do it, but I believed that other people could do it. And I could see now how I was set up to have a beneficial belief that I could do it. Now, when it happened to me, I didn't think I could do it. But did you guys ever watch Crossing Over with John Edwards? So he was able to, say who had a father who died, and point to somebody and say, okay, you've got a little heart in your pocket that you've brought with you, right? Stuff like that. So I could see that, well, there's something going on here. And he wouldn't always do audience. He would also do, it would also be like the camera guy. It didn't matter who it was. It was, if you were in that room, he would go to you. Then a friend of mine says, there's a guy who does this thing like John Edwards coming to town, and it was in this little community center that was a mile from my house. So Lily and I went. There was 150 people there. He points to me and says, your uncle's coming through, who was like this big figure in my life. He was a surgeon, and he said he died in a way that was sort of embarrassing for him because he's a famous surgeon, and he died from a simple little undiagnosed complication. But he said to me is that our families are spread apart now because we were in America, they're all in South Africa, and but in the other side, there are countless entities supporting you, and what you're doing, what you're going to be doing, is going to be something big. So we didn't know what that was. We thought something big was like more real estate at that time. But you could see I was being led, boom, 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 and then the Esther said anyone can do it. And when I started researching this, there were just tons of people. I mean, conversations with God is sort of what I do, right? Paul Selig, the Word, exactly. I am Word. There's, Story Waters. And what's happening is we're in this time of awakening, as you know, and we're going from the shift from mostly fear over the line to mostly love. And fear is obviously, anything that's fear-based and that lower vibration, and love is who we are in the non-physical. We are pure, positive beings of love. And all of us are on this journey to uncover that pure, positive being of love that we are in the non-physical. So everyone you know is on that journey. They may not be doing it the way we're doing it. They may be going to yoga and praying or doing it their way, but we're doing it our way. And if you know the rules of the game, which is what Josh is talking about, is the rules of the game, it makes it like you know something a little more. And so when I play poker, I know the rules of the game, and I know that I need to appreciate all the people I'm playing with, appreciate the dealers, feel the hands, not be attached to anything, not have any fear, not be sad or upset that I lost a hand, and just allow what I want to come, and that's why I win so much money. And there's a poker table here. It's going to be fun. So that's the end of my talk. Does anyone have a question? Juan?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So, the way that the books are, I guess, I've read the first two books, okay, and they're very well written. And so my question to you is, what you said it before, right? The words just come out as they are. I mean, these words are, the paragraphs, the sentences, the whole structure is very, very well written. So no edits whatsoever for...
So Juan, I'm saying it, so this is recording. So Juan asks, this is so well written, Gary, you're an amazing writer. And what I say is, I didn't write it, I just typed it. And most of it is words I know, so it comes out in the words I know it. But occasionally, 10% of the time, it's words I would never use. And it's interesting, a really interesting part of this is a common phrase is that which you desire, right? This is a common Abraham phrase too. Now, I would never say that which you desire, but that's how it comes out. And a couple times there will be words that I don't know, I have to look up what they are, and I'm like, is that even a word? For a while they were using presently instead of currently. Presently means in the future, and what they were trying to say is what's happening right now. So yeah, there's no edits other than typos. So I did not have an editor, but I did have a proofreader, and the proofreader fixed the typos, misspellings, periods, commas, stuff like that. Everything else is exactly how it was written. Not one thing is different about it. Yep.
How has this changed?
Okay, so it's not going to be the way you want, but I am so less focused on money now, and money is flowing so easily. I am so less focused on making people wrong, and people are so less wrong. Like, the biggest change is my driving. I used to give people evil eyes when they did stuff wrong, thinking I could change them, but not, well, there's too many of them, and the only reason they're there is because I'm attracting them anyway, right? So now I pretend they're all little autonomous robots without drivers in them, and I just go around them. I drive like Steve, but not good.
It was great hearing you. It was fabulous, and also we received it. I had a thought. Helen Schuckman of the Course in Miracles always was creeped out by getting this dictation from out-of-body Jesus. But Esther Hicks, over the years, and I don't know that she acknowledges it, but she's becoming more aligned with being Abraham. And I'm wondering if she had it to do over again, could she say, this is what's coming through me, this is who and what I am? Can you get a sense of that at all?
Okay, it's completely separate from me, because if I was...
It's not you.
It's not me. If it was me...
Yet.
Well, I think that I'm a student. I always say this, I'm a student of Joshua, not Joshua. And so I'm learning like everyone else is. And I can see vast improvements as I compare myself to my past self. I don't compare myself to anyone else because it's not relevant to me. But I do beat up on myself for not being as good as I should be doing. You know, I should know better. And also, I think that I have this irrational belief that people are looking up to me to be this, you know, okay, if you're so good, you know, if you know this stuff, how come, you know, you don't weigh 20 pounds less? How come you just yelled at me 2 seconds ago? You know, luckily Lily is really into this too, and she understands it. So I think I'm growing like anyone can grow from it. I just get closer to the information, and I have someone there talking to me all the time. But I think all of us can do the same thing. Yep.
You're not as yet. Forgive me. I don't mean to presume anything
Yeah.
about your path.
Yes. Go ahead, Michael.
Gary, your experience is your experience.
You gotta talk into it.
Your experience is your experience.
Right.
And it's wonderful. It's such a gift.
Closer.
It's such a gift that you've received and then giving. And what I'm trying to reach for myself, as well as for yourself, at some point, could that not be an aspect of you that's not as yet aligned? In other words, this isn't some strange channel you tune into. This is ultimately your channel that is as yet not aligned as your own divine self-expression. This is like getting to with Esther coming more alignment with Abraham as herself.
Okay, so I think the question is Joshua just my inner self?
As yet.
As yet, right. And that certainly could be, and maybe Joshua, the whole system of Joshua is a device to allow me to believe that it's not me. But I think that it isn't me. I think it's an infinite intelligence that all of us can tap into, and the combination of that intelligence coming through me is called Joshua, and that combination of that intelligence coming through anyone else is called something else. And it comes out differently because I'm interested in different things. A guy asked me a question in French. He asked me questions before. He says, "Gary and Joshua, here's my question," and then it's in French. Like it wouldn't matter if I could read French or not, but it does matter. You know, it doesn't work if it's in French because I can't speak French because I hear thoughts. Now, obviously, the infinite intelligence can speak any language, but I have to interpret it. And so, when it comes through me, it comes through my experiences as well. And so, like, there's certain questions. I get maybe 8 or 10 questions a day now, and I can do 3 or 4 of them, and I pick the ones that are interesting to me. And a lot of times, the question will come out, and I go, you know, that doesn't seem right. But it's for the person. She'll write back and say, "This is the most powerful thing that's ever happened to me." That this is, you know. Would you have back there?
Thank you.
Come on up and ask. Yeah.
First of all, I think you're like super amazing.
Me too. No.
The same thing happened to me when I was like 14 years old.
Really?
The difference is I typed for like about 8 weeks, and then I went to church, and then this pastor get up and say, "Hey, I'm not preaching today, but I feel someone else has something to say."
Really?
But that morning, Spirit or whoever,
Uh-huh.
Joshua, God, I don't even know now. I'm just sitting up here. I'm like, I wonder was that Joshua talking to me?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And I got up there and I, said what I had written.
Wow.
It was crazy. And you're the first person I've ever heard to do something like this outside of that experience.
Yeah.
So my question is coming from like a religious background. Is Joshua, is it God, or is it, because I know you were saying we are Joshua.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get an understanding of we are Joshua. Is it like a movement? Because like in the church we say the Joshua generation.
Right.
So what is that?
Okay. So it's a group of non-physical entities that are interested in moving the discussion forward about law of attraction and even more physical reality and that stuff. So when you're in non-physical, you move around not as individuals as we do here on Earth, but as groups of entities that are, and you have maybe similar interests. Like in this case, it could be the family of teachers. And so they are, and how they've described God to me is that God is a system, the system of how the universe works. And it encompasses everything. And we are part of that system. And they use the term all that is. And so to them, the definition of God is not a individual person, which is hard. We're individuals. So we project individuality. And we can't imagine being in a group, flowing, where we can think everyone's thoughts. We don't communicate by words. We know everything. We have no judgment. We're pure positive love. And we focus on whatever interests us at the time, which could be 100 different things or 1,000,000 different things or whatever it is. So it's very hard for us to even conceive what that's like, but that's how I've read it. It's a system. And if you think that you operate within the system that you're a part of, so you're one of all and all of one, and we're all together in that system. All right, how's our time doing? Is it time for a drink? Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. This has been a wonderful experience for me. Hope you enjoy it. Okay.